Hi everybody and welcome. My name's Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. Today is a tutorial on I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables. It's just actually been released out in the cinema here in the UK just over the weekend, I think, and I think it's been out in America for a little bit longer than us. But I thought I would do a tutorial on I Dreamed a Dream. I really had quite a debate with myself as to which one I should actually choose to do, but they're all brilliant songs. They're all absolutely fantastic. But I really like this song, I Dreamed a Dream. This is the one that Anne Hathaway sings. I think she plays the character of Fantine. I think that's right. And she sings this in the movie. Again, I don't know, out of all of them, this is probably my most favourite, or amongst my most favourite, but I thought I would do a tutorial on it because I know many of you would probably really like to play this. I'd say this is probably more of an intermediate stroke advanced tutorial. I've got a really super duper easy tutorial on Dreamed a Dream. A link will be coming up now to if you want to have a look at that. I'll put a link to the sheet music that I'm actually using in the description bar underneath if you want to look at the sheet music I'm looking at. The version I've got is for piano, vocal, guitar. It has chords, it has tabs, so it's sort of one fits all really. I'm just looking at the vocal line, but you can have a piano part to it, as you can have a live pianist as well. I'm going to be playing with a backing track for you, and what I'm also going to do is I've mic'd up my violin again, and I've got it running through, I've got my earphones in too, I've got it running through a mixing desk down here in front of me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play I Dreamed a Dream for you now. I'm going to play it all the way through. I normally only play the first kind of minute or so, but it's such a fantastic song I thought I'd play it the whole way through for you to listen to. And it's going to be recorded into my little mixing desk, and then I'm going to just tidy it up a little bit, or just well, actually, I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to put some reverb on it or something, just to make it sound a little bit nicer. So here is I Dreamed a Dream on the violin. think you will all agree with me that it was an absolutely beautiful song. It's an absolute pleasure to play as well on the violin. So I really hope you, even if you don't get anything out of this tutorial, I really hope you enjoyed the performance that I just did there of I Dreamed a Dream. So okay, getting straight on with it. Okay, so we're in the key, or we're starting off in the key of E flat major anyway. It's actually, it's really nice to play on the violin. It's not, I know you've got A flats, which can mean kind of fourth fingers back, fourth fingers there. But as far as the flats go, it's actually not too bad. Now, I toyed with a couple of positions here, and in the end I just decided to stick with first position. I know you've got open Ds in there, so you can't do vibrato on them. But by keeping in first position, when I got to When Hope Was High and Life Worth Living, I know you've got 2 3s there, so you've got a 3 on the C. Sorry, the Life Worth Living. So on worth you've got a G, which is third finger on the D string, and then you're going straight over to a C, third finger on the G string, which is for the word, for the first part of the word living. And I know that's a bit of an awkward one, because you've got to sort of position your finger, so there's sort of you can't just put your finger on the G, the third finger for the G, and then expect it to kind of roll over. So you've got to sort of almost half position it on the G so that it's ready to roll over for the third finger for that C there. But if I tried this in, I think I actually did it in fourth position. Again, I mean, it was just swapping bad for good, really. So you can do it in fourth position. It would be really nice to do that because you've got it all on the G string. So if you've got a violin that plays particularly nicely on the G string, then I think this would be really good for you. So it's quite nice to do it in first position though, because you do get a nice sound. But then of course you've got that horrible fourth finger for the G there, which is worth 4 beats to do vibrato, unless you moved up. But I think it's probably just a bit, in terms of tone, it is really nice to do everything on the G string, but I just think to start with it's probably just a little bit too much. It might be something that you might want to build up to later in the second or third verse or something like that, but I certainly think I think you should start with, my personal opinion and my go-to would be to do it in first position. And you can get a really nice vibrato there on that G. When I got to I Dreamed That Love Would Never Die, I went up into third position there. So I dreamed that love would, and then never die, where I've got a G, an A flat and a B there. So I'm moving up there. Move up now. So I can keep all of that on the D string, and I can avoid that A flat there. When I move over to the other string, when I move over to the A string, the tone is going to change because I'm moving over to a different string, so it's going to sound brighter. I've got that awkward sort of string cross there, which I don't really like the sound of it. So I think if you can move up into the third position for Never Die, 1, 2, 3 in that third position, then I think it would be much better. I stayed in first position for the last part of that. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. And then I moved for the second verse. Then I moved down into first position there. Carrying on in positions then, but the Tigers Come at Night. Now I'm still in first position for most of this. Where you've got to As They Tear Your Hope Apart. Now you've got a G flat there. We can't do a G flat on the violin. So what I've done, I go back to another B flat. So As They Tear Your Hope is a B flat, A is an A flat, and then part is a G flat. Well, we haven't got that, so I went back to a B flat, and I thought it did fit in quite nicely with the music. I know it's not the right note. I guess you could play it an octave higher, but then you lose the kind of, you lose the lower kind of gruff tone. This is supposed to be quite low for a soprano voice, and it's supposed to be, I think if you take it up an octave, you're gonna lose the power and you're gonna lose the whole essence and the whole point of playing this verse. Because you've lost the kind of, the gruff and the tiger sort of ness, I know it's not a word to it. So I think if you keep it down what it is, but just do a B flat, you'll get away with that. Nobody will really notice that, and you can't do it anyway. So, okay, moving on. As they turn your dream to shame, and you've got a scale going from E to B flat on shame. So I'm moving up into third position for the G, the A flat, and the B flat. Again, because I don't want that fourth finger. I want to keep the tone the same there. So the tone changes when I move over. I don't like that string crossing. I'd rather move up into third position and keep the nice longevity and keep the phrase there of the tone. Okay, then it goes into third verse. He slept a summer by my side. It's pretty much the same as the first verse that we did there. So when you get to he took my childhood in his stride, again we are moving up. And then, but he was gone when autumn came, I move it down. So you're back down into first position there. Okay, moving on to the, sorry, I've got, this is like 100 pages long, this version that I've got here. So moving on to the key change that we've got next. And still I dreamed he'd come to me. So this is verse 4 that you've got here. Now I've chosen to do this an octave higher just because I think it adds a little bit more power. The orchestra is adding in a bit more and it's going a bit mental and all the instruments are coming in and all that kind of thing. So you can get some really nice power and a really nice tone using vibrato and a nice bow, and you can just give it a whole lot more rather than It's nice, but it doesn't have as much power. It's not quite as nice, to be honest, as playing it. So it's much nicer. So you're just giving it, and you're giving it something different that the other three verses haven't got as well. So when I'm moving up there, I think but there are dreams that cannot be, I think is where the part where I'm moving into third position. So again, I've toyed with starting but you've got that. You've got that awkward fourth finger there, which is exactly why I tried to avoid it, and you've got the odd string crossing. So, and I think the tone is more muted than it needs to be. So if you did it all in first position, even though you've got the open E's, the E's are just sort of generally passing notes, so you don't really notice them. And again, everything's kept on all on one string as well, and I think it's going to give you the maximum impact rather than trying to do it in third position. So, but there are dreams that cannot be. I'm moving into third position there. So I'm in first for the first part of that. And then cannot. So I'm staying in third position for that whole bit, and there were storms we cannot weather. So that's all in third position there. I had a dream my life would be is back down into first position. Now the next part here is so different from this hell I'm living. There's two ways of doing this. Do whichever way you feel comfortable. You can do the B flat with a fourth finger. And then for the C, jump up into third position. So can do that, or instead of the fourth finger for the B, you can exchange it for the third finger. But then you do end up with a fourth finger for the C, so unless you can... So if you want to go into that second position there, so your second position from so different from this hell I'm living, and then so different now, I think is where I went into third position. So different now from, I'm still in second position. And then what it seemed, I'm moving, just sliding back up into third. So I'm using 2 1s. So I've got a 1 on the from for the G, and then I'll put a 1 on the what. So then you've got a nice third finger there. So for the last little part there, now life has killed the dream I dreamed, you've got 3 options. I think you've got 3 options available to you here. You can even go back into the original position, or the original octave, sorry, that it's supposed to be in. Or you can keep in the octave higher that we've just been doing the whole key change in. Or if you're super duper adventurous, you might want to play all the way up in the rafters here. And do it up there if you like. On the recording I did actually add another little bit on the end. I just repeated that right at the very end, and I did it down in the original octave. So it's up to you. I mean, it's not in the written music, I just kind of ad-libbed there and just threw that in. So it's up to you if you want to do that. So that's it with positions really. It's actually not overly complicated when it comes to positions. As the other thing that I need to probably mention is bowing. Bowing's a tricky one. None of this is bowed because it's actually a vocals, it's a vocal score that I'm looking at, but I think you need to sort of slur some of the notes, but as opposed to there being a rule of thumb with the slurring, just slur as you feel it needs to be. You don't have to slur the bows if you're not comfortable slurring the bows, but it will sustain the notes a lot more. It will give you those longer lines. It will give you the expression and the phrase and the phrasing a lot better than trying to play it separate bows. It just sounds a little bit, it sounds quite laboured trying to play it all separate bows, so. So I'm probably doing something completely different each time, but I'm just sort of, perhaps what I am doing is actually when you've got the words like when hope was high and life worth living. So when you've got a word that's going over 2 notes or more than 2 notes, they're quite nice to slur rather than if you do it separate bows, you'll get living, and you don't really want to advertise that it's living. So you probably want to slur those parts. I dreamed that love would never die, so I think I slurred those 3 notes as well to keep the continuity of the word never rather than never. Because you'd never say, you would never say never, you'd say never. So you'd say it all as one syllable, but they've separated the word out here. So just in terms of bowing, just experiment. You can create some real passion in your playing with the bowing as well, and it will help to make it sound a lot more professional, a lot smoother as well, especially when you come to the key change. So I am doing a lot of separate bows there. I think I'm slowing the ends of phrases. It's difficult to sort of say because I'm doing something completely different each time, but I think actually when it came to But the Tigers Come at Night, I actually think that I was slurring that. I think I was actually slurring it in twos there rather than... I think it has a much softer and a much smoother effect if you actually slur those bits there. What else can I mention? Vibrato. Vibrato is almost an absolute must for this piece. You will be missing out if you don't put vibrato on this, because it won't have the same effect, especially when you get to, if you want to do the second the where it changes key to F major and you want to go up an octave as well. It's actually very hard to not put, I think I did put a little bit of vibrato, it's actually very hard to not put vibrato in because it's so tempting to want to do it. So you've got a lot of long notes, so you've got a bar of sort of dotted quavers and semiquavers, and then you've got a long note, then you've got another bar of dotted quavers and semiquavers, and then you've got another long note as well. So whether you can get vibrato in on those bars, you certainly need to get vibrato in on the long notes. So if you are just starting out in your vibrato career, then why don't you just aim to doing vibrato on the longer notes that you can, rather than the ones with all the quavers and the dotted quavers and all that kind of stuff. The bars with all the stuff going on in it, why don't you just leave those, and then when you can do the vibrato, it will make it sound a bit better. Even though your vibrato is not there, it will make it sound a little bit nicer. And of course, once you have got vibrato, you'll be grateful for it, because this piece will sound so much better. The middle sort of section that you've got where it goes into But the Tigers Come at Night, I absolutely love that section there. And again, I was talking about moving up an octave for that. I definitely think that you should keep this in the octave that it's written. And what you need to do, you've got some really nice low notes there on the G. So if you can put vibrato in, put vibrato in. If you can't, don't worry about it. But what you really need to do is to make sure that you're giving enough weight in the bow there to give you that really nice, rich, velvety tone from the violin. So I can play this without trying to put any tone in. That's relatively plain. Now if I try and sort of, and you don't want to take this the wrong way, but if I try and kind of crunch the bow in a little bit more to give it a little bit more weight for my arm and my wrist, not so much that I'm going to get a scratch, but just enough so that it gets to that level just before you're going to get the scratch, then you can get a slightly nicer sound. So I'm really making sure I'm really working with the violin. The violin's working with me, I'm working with the arm, and it's responding to the bow. So you can really get a nice rich sound out of there. If you were singing this, and this is quite low for some sopranos, especially if you're more of a higher sort of soprano. But it's actually very difficult to do in a female voice, to try and get that low. So it's the same thing. You're going to have to work on the tone in your voice as well to really get those lower notes coming out and not make it sound like those lower notes are just, you can't quite get that low, but you've tried to get low anyway. And speaking quite low from a female's point of view is very difficult to keep a nice tone there. So again, it's the same thing with the violin. There's you can play a note on the G string, and you can really play a note on the G string. That might have come out a little bit scratchy on the microphone. The microphone does pick up everything. So I think that might be everything that I want to mention about this. Any comments, please leave them underneath, and if I can't help you, if I forget to answer or something, then maybe someone else can help you out there. But like I say, even if this tutorial hasn't helped you, which I hope it has, perhaps you've just enjoyed listening to me playing the song for you. So thank you so much for watching. and I'll catch you all next time.